With everybody and their mom getting keyblades these days, I want to take a look at the other weapons in the Kingdom Hearts universe for a second. There's plenty of people using plenty of different weapons to make a top 10 list anyway. Just one small disclaimer. These weapons belong to characters. Characters which I have an opinion on. So I can't help but be influenced by that at least a little bit. Cloud's Buster Swords. At the bottom of this list we have a weapon that's not really a Kingdom Hearts weapon, but kind of is. You see, Cloud is a character from Kingdom Hearts, but also from Final Fantasy VII, as you all know. So he also has his Final Fantasy VII weapon, of course. But the Kingdom Hearts version of Cloud is actually nothing like his Final Fantasy counterpart, and that's reflected somewhat into his weapon, also having been modified. For some reason, it's covered in cloth. Or bandages. Something. As I said in the intro, I can't quite see the weapon on its own. It belongs to Cloud, and well, I like Cloud. Even though I have no reason to like him, not his Final Fantasy or his Kingdom Hearts version, because, well, I don't think they're that relatable or well written. Yeah, I said it. Final Fantasy VII isn't as holy as you think. The Keyblade. I know I said I wanted to focus on other weapons than just the Keyblade, but look at it this way. Why do you think it's the number 9 spot on this list? You can't deny the Keyblade being a hugely important thing in the series, and aside from that also being a creative idea with many well-designed variants. I personally don't mind everyone getting one, although Lee getting one is pushing it just a little bit. As we've seen in Birth by Sleep, they're way more than just weapons too. You can transform them into a number of things, which will be explored even more in Kingdom Hearts 3, when it's eventually released. Maybe. Again, this entry also suffers from being connected to not just a character, but characters. It's the main weapon used by the main characters. Of course it's gonna get the spotlight to shine at every opportunity. Viaccess Claymore. You see, this is one that's just on here because the weapon. Because come on, nobody likes Viaccess, right? I mean, he's the most nobody of them all. While nobodies are supposed to have no feelings, most of them do. Not this guy though, he's a zombie. Anyway, he uses this huge ass weapon which will probably split your skull in an instant. It channels the power of the moon, which gives him pretty much unlimited power. I can see why he would pretty much be Xemnas' right-hand man. With that kind of power and that kind of devotion to the organization. Another thing which helps is that you can actually use his weapon. Granted, only while fighting him and only for a few seconds, but you can use it. I like to imagine that you lose the weapon after a few seconds, not just because of gameplay balance, but also because the huge burst of berserk power is too much for Sora to sustain. But let's be honest, it's probably just gameplay balance. Sora's Dream Swords. Bet you didn't see this one coming. At the start of Kingdom Hearts 1, there was no Keyblade yet. Nothing even like it had been established. So how do you deal with the tutorial? Just give Sora his wooden sword? That wouldn't work. You have to show the wooden sword not working against the Heartless to make getting the Keyblade more impactful. So just throw in a different weapon then? Well yeah, we can do that. At the start of the game you choose between a sword, a staff and a shield. Whichever one you pick will be your weapon for the tutorial level of the game. Yes, you can mash into Heartless using your shields. And you don't look nearly as cool as Goofy when you do it. You can get the staff and the shield later in the game from Merlin to give to Donald and Goofy, but the sword never comes back. Well, in the mission mode of 358 Days Over 2, when you play as Sora, you can play with the Dream Sword, and it's pretty cool. But that whole mode is just a bunch of fan service anyway, so honestly, I would expect it to be in there, and I would have been mad as hell if it wasn't. The X-Blade. But the Keyblade's already on this list. You, my friend, need to read up on your lore. This is not the same weapon. I mean, you could say it is, but that's like saying a kitchen knife is the same as a sword. Sure, they're made of metal and you can cut things with them, but that's about where the similarities end. This mythical weapon has not yet been really seen. We got a quick look at it in Birth by Sleep when Vantas and Vanitas made a false X-Blade, but the only true way to make it is with 7 lights and 13 darknesses, which has yet to happen. Even in Kingdom Hearts Key, however many versions of that are floating around these days, we haven't seen the original either. Knowing how powerful the Keyblade is, and knowing it's just a weak copy trying to recreate something that resembles this mighty weapon, that must be one hell of a kitchen knife. Luxort's cards. What can I say? The man fights you, with cards. And if that's not badass, I don't know what is. There's another one of those entries which really has nothing to do with the character. We hardly see him until we actually get to fight him and kill him. And even then he only had a really small amount of dialogue. Not exactly a well-rounded character. Even in 358 Days Over 2, where they had a chance to expand on a character like Luxord, they just didn't. You go on a really small number of missions with him, and even in those missions, he doesn't really show any character. But the man fights with cards. I don't know who came up with that and what they were smoking, but damn, I need some. He's a gambling man and his boss fight reflects that. It's just a meme again, really. HP isn't a big deal. He doesn't even have any. I mean, of course, you do, but it's not that big a deal. It's all about timing the direction commands to drop his time gauge and raise your own. I got nothing to add to that. The Pharaoh would be proud. Xigbar's Eragon. This is an interesting one. I like snipers. It's the only thing I'm halfway competent at in first-person shooters. Makes sense that I would be good at being an annoying sneaky bastard, right? Xigbar was another one of those characters that we hardly ever got to see before fighting and killing him. But after that, in Birth by Sleep, we met him again as Braig, when he suddenly developed some character and showed us how badass he is. I mean, compared to Xehanort, he looked like a bit of a wimp, but generally, he's a badass. Teleporting all over the place and shooting you with his snipers. His signature attack when he jumps out of the stage and you have to reflect his bullets back at him reminds me of a boss fight in Rayman 3, where you do exactly the same thing. Might be some inspiration there, which I don't mind since Rayman 3 is another one of those great games. Anyway, Xigbar and the snipers are amazing. Riku's Soul Eater. Look, the Way to Dawn is a Keyblade, so I couldn't pick that one. Seriously though, I like the Soul Eater a lot more than the Way to Dawn. It makes sense for Riku to get his Keyblade, and for the growth of the character, it's better than him sticking with the Soul Eater for sure. But as I mentioned before, everyone is slowly getting Keyblades, and that now has the side effect seeing less unique weapons. That was cool about Riku. He has a Soul Eater and Sora has a Keyblade. We didn't know at the time that the Keyblade was way more powerful of a weapon. We just kind of assumed that the Soul Eater was Riku's version of it. And still he made a big deal out of getting your Keyblade and stole it, of course. Then he made his own. Good old times. Damex's Sita. Alright, so Luxor has his cards. That's creative, but his character never was anything special. To be honest, Damex isn't much better of a character, but his boss fight is infinitely more awesome. With his Sita he has the power to summon water forms to protect him. Sounds stupid, and well, it kind of is, but it fits with the character and actually makes him a very interesting boss fight. The first time you fight him, you don't even fight him, but just the water forms. And then when you end up fighting him again, he keeps summoning those things to protect him. In the data battle, it becomes ridiculous and you have to beat a number of waves of the water forms before you even get to fight him. And then again, before you can finish him off. Some of those waves will go up to 99 water forms. Also, he fights you with a Sita. I feel like most of his powers are his own used through magic and have nothing to do with his weapon, unlike most of the other weapons on this list. But I still like to believe that it's all in the power of the music, man. Axel's Chakrams. I love Chakrams. Why don't more games use these? Honestly, half the reason I made this list is I wanted to ask you guys if you know any good action RPGs in which you can use Chakrams. Tell me in the comments below, please, because it is a weapon that's ignored way too often, and it is one of the most badass weapons out there. Well, lightsabers are cool too, but Chakrams! Worst part is, now that Lee has gotten that godforsaken Keyblade of his, you probably won't see him use his Chakrams anymore, and honestly, I might just stop playing Kingdom Hearts because of that. But wait, in Kingdom Hearts 3, Sora is supposed to be able to transform his Keyblade. I'm hoping for a Chakram transformation. Lee could even teach it to you. I'm calling it. It's canon now. Nothing you can do about it. Sora's getting Chakrams. I guess there's a good reason I don't direct these games, isn't there?